Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
All right, let's delve into the escalating legal battle between NFL legend Shannon Sharpe and his accuser Jane Doe, transforming those key points into a comprehensive and captivating narrative, drawing upon the most compelling aspects of the provided transcript: the $50 million bombshell, a gridiron icon under fire, the tranquility surrounding NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe, a celebrated figure known for his prowess on the field and his engaging media presence, was shattered by a seismic legal event. An unidentified woman, operating under the pseudonym Jane Doe, unleashed a $50 million lawsuit in the Nevada legal arena, leveling harrowing accusations of sexual assault and rape against the former tight end. This legal broadside immediately thrust Sharpe into a maelstrom of public scrutiny, casting a dark shadow over his illustrious career and his burgeoning media empire. The sheer magnitude of the financial demand, coupled with the gravity of the allegations,
off the bat, this is not looking good for Shannon, because what was unthinking getting involved with
one
a
that promised to unravel a complex and potentially damaging narrative.
The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff, just as he had from the beginning. One time specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in his room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff tried sharing her location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharpe saw her doing this. The moment he realized what she was doing, he grabbed her by the neck and told her, "If you ever do that again, I will bleeping kill you."
A relationship turned nightmare. Allegations of coercion and control. Jane Doe's lawsuit paints a disturbing picture of a relationship that allegedly morphed from consensual intimacy into a terrifying ordeal. According to her claims, the connection with Sharpe began after a chance encounter at a fitness center in 2023. Initially, the relationship was characterized by mutual agreement and affection. However, the lawsuit details a chilling escalation, alleging that Sharpe, whom Jane Doe claims is 30 years her senior, began to exert control and manipulate their interactions. The accusations include the disturbing claim that Sharpe allegedly insisted on recording their sexual encounters, sometimes without Jane Doe's knowledge or consent. Furthermore, the lawsuit alleges that Sharpe shared these private videos with others, a betrayal of trust that underscores a profound power imbalance. The narrative takes an even darker turn with allegations of verbal abuse and intimidation. Jane Doe claims that Sharpe subjected her to relentless berating and degradation. One particularly alarming excerpt from the lawsuit recounts an incident where Sharpe allegedly yelled at her in the presence of a visible firearm. Fearing for her safety, Jane Doe attempted to share her location with friends via her iPhone. However, Sharpe purportedly discovered her actions, reacted with violent rage, grabbing her by the neck and issuing a chilling death threat. These details paint a portrait of a controlling and volatile individual, creating an atmosphere of fear and subjugation.
I don't want to be, don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to choke the out of you when I see you.
The most severe allegations culminate in claims of violent sexual assault and rape. Jane Doe asserts that in October 2024, Sharpe forcibly sexually assaulted and raped her in Las Vegas, despite her alleged sobs and repeated pleas to stop. Shockingly, she further claims that this horrific act was repeated as recently as January 2025, with her allegedly begging him to cease his actions. These accusations of sexual battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress form the core of Jane Doe's lawsuit, painting a picture of repeated violation and trauma. She is represented by the prominent Texas attorney Tony Buzbee, known for his involvement in high-profile sexual assault cases, including actions against figures like Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs. Buzbee's involvement signals a determined and potentially aggressive legal strategy on behalf of Jane Doe. Sharpe strikes back: denial, accusations, and the revelation of identity. Faced with these explosive allegations,
he's not going to admit that she said no, that he raped her.
No, I hear you. And I knew that he was going to get on the defensive. I mean, if you believe his side, right, that he's completely innocent, you get hit with this lawsuit, right? You want to defend yourself immediately.
Shannon Sharpe did not remain silent. He launched a vigorous public counteroffensive, utilizing his considerable platform to vehemently deny the accusations and to cast doubt on Jane Doe's credibility. In a direct message to his family, friends, supporters, and colleagues on Instagram, Sharpe unequivocally declared the lawsuit a shakedown. His response was not limited to mere denial. It included a disturbing accusation against Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Buzbee, claiming that Buzbee targets black men. This assertion injects a racial dimension into the already volatile situation, potentially appealing to Sharpe's extensive fanbase and framing the lawsuit as part of a larger, prejudiced pattern. Sharpe's counter-narrative took a dramatic turn with his apparent decision to reveal Jane Doe's first name and her alleged pseudonym on the subscription-based platform OnlyFans. While the Law and Crime Network opted not to disclose these details, Sharpe's action was a significant escalation. Stripping away the anonymity Jane Doe had sought through the legal process, this move could be interpreted as an attempt to undermine her credibility by associating her with the adult entertainment industry, potentially swaying public opinion against her. Sharpe further asserted that the whole thing is being orchestrated by Buzbee.
And in October of 2024, Sharpe violently sexually assaulted and raped her in Las Vegas, all while she was allegedly sobbing. And she claims he did this again recently in January of 2025, her allegedly begging him to stop as this was purportedly going on.
And preemptively addressed the potential release of a 30-second clip of a sex tape that he believes is designed to make him appear guilty and play into negative stereotypes. In a bold challenge, Sharpe dared Buzbee to release the entire alleged video, claiming he does not possess it himself, suggesting that the full context would exonerate him. He maintained that the encounter in question occurred during the day at Jane Doe's invitation, portraying the situation as a deliberate setup. Adding legal weight to Sharpe's public pronouncements, his attorney, Lonnie J. Davis, issued a formal statement that echoed his client's vehement denials. Davis stated that Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. The attorney affirmed Sharpe's commitment to the truth and his readiness to fight these false claims vigorously in court. Davis also addressed the alleged sex tape, accusing Jane Doe of providing a secretly recorded and heavily edited video that purports to show a non-consensual encounter. He further claimed that Jane Doe has refused to provide the full, unedited version of the recording to Sharpe's legal team, implying that the edited version is misleading and lacks crucial context. X-rated texts emerge.
Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me, so I feel like...
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so...
A consensual facade or calculated deception. In a dramatic attempt to bolster their defense and counter Jane Doe's narrative of non-consent and abuse, Sharpe and his legal team released a trove of alleged text messages exchanged between him and Jane Doe, reportedly spanning 44 pages. These communications painted a starkly different picture of their relationship. According to reports from TMZ and the New York Post, the messages contained explicit and often disturbing content. One alleged message from Jane Doe in October 2023 reportedly stated, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're bleeping me." Other alleged messages included requests to be tied up and subjected to bad things, with Jane Doe reportedly offering significant sums of money for such acts. Sharpe allegedly responded to one such message with, "If I knew how to, I would." Jane Doe purportedly followed up by mentioning handcuffs and expressing a desire for hardcore BDSM action. Another alleged message from March 2024 read, "I want to be abused, daddy." And a message from the previous year allegedly stated, "I've always wanted a black baby." Sharpe's attorney, Lonnie Davis, asserted that this textual evidence paints a clear picture of a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
The defense's strategy appears to be centered on establishing a pattern of consensual engagement in sexually explicit and potentially violent acts, suggesting that the encounters described in Jane Doe's lawsuit were within the bounds of their agreed-upon dynamic. This tactic aims to challenge the claim that Jane Doe did not consent to the specific acts she now alleges as assault and rape. However, legal experts caution against drawing definitive conclusions solely based on these text messages. As the legal analyst Mauricio Padilla pointed out, while a history of consensual BDSM activities might be relevant in assessing the context of the relationship, it does not negate the possibility of non-consent on a specific occasion. Padilla emphasized the legal principle that a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no even once, that no means no. The critical question remains whether Jane Doe unequivocally withdrew her consent during the alleged assaults. Regardless of their prior interactions, the defense will likely argue that the text messages demonstrate a consistent pattern of consent to violent sexual acts, while the prosecution will argue that past consent does not equate to present consent, especially in instances of alleged force and coercion. The audio tape Bombshell.
Listen, I think that that's part of what Busby has been doing historically. Like they approach you and they tell you, listen, we have this. Let me know if you want to resolve this previously. I think if anybody looks at like the P. Diddy didn't do it, right? And then they filed against him.
A glimpse into a disturbing power dynamic. Just when the battle appeared to be waged primarily through text messages and public statements, Jane Doe's legal team unleashed another potentially damaging piece of evidence, an audio recording purportedly capturing an exchange between her and Shannon Sharpe. While the Law and Crime Network refrained from playing the audio due to legal constraints, they revealed a key portion of the recorded conversation. In this excerpt, Jane Doe is heard saying, "Don't manipulate me." Sharpe's alleged response is chilling. "If you say that word one more time, I'm going to choke the bleep out of you next time I see you." After a pause, Jane Doe replies, "Well, I don't want to be choked," to which Sharpe allegedly retorts, "Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter." Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, characterized this audio clip as certainly not sexual and far from playful. Instead, he described it as disturbing, aggressive, and dangerous, asserting that it provides a very clear picture of how Sharpe treated Jane Doe, ultimately leading her to flee Nevada and sever all contact. Busby stated that the release of this audio was a direct response to Sharpe's legal team's attempt to discredit Jane Doe by releasing the alleged text messages, which Busby dismissed as basically irrelevant because they predated the alleged assaults. The audio tape introduces a new and potentially more visceral dimension to the case. Unlike the text messages, which can be interpreted in various ways and stripped of tone, the audio recording allegedly captures Sharpe's voice and his direct interaction with Jane Doe.
He settled the case in a day. We see the value of resolving cases. So I think it's on par with how Busby has been litigating his prior cases to give them an opportunity. When you look at it, settlement negotiations are usually privileged. If someone hears that he offered $10 million.
The threat of physical violence and the assertion that Jane Doe has no choice in the matter directly contradict the defense's portrayal of a consensual and playful relationship. This piece of evidence could be particularly impactful in swaying public opinion and potentially influencing the legal proceedings. The stark contrast between the explicit but arguably consensual tone of some text messages and the alleged menacing tone of the audio recording raises critical questions about the true nature of the relationship and the power dynamics at play. Ethical minefields and the court of public opinion. The unfolding legal battle has been marked by a significant amount of information being released to the public by both sides, raising concerns about potential ethical violations. Legal analyst Mauricio Padilla highlighted the rules of ethics that generally prohibit parties involved in litigation from trying their case in the media, particularly by releasing information that could potentially influence a jury pool. He noted that both Sharpe and Jane Doe's teams appear to be actively engaged in this practice, releasing text messages and audio recordings in what seems like an attempt to sway public opinion before the case even reaches a courtroom. Padilla acknowledged the strategic rationale behind this approach, particularly for a public figure like Shannon Sharpe. In an era where the court of public opinion often holds significant sway, attempting to reverse the narrative in the media could serve multiple purposes.
The audio tape, Jane Doe says, "Don't manipulate me." Sharpe replies, "If you say that word one more time, I'm going to choke the bleep out of you next time I see you." Jane Doe pauses, takes a minute, and says, "Well, I don't want to be choked."
Maintaining fan support, preserving career prospects, and potentially pressuring the opposing party. However, Padilla cautioned that such tactics are generally frowned upon by legal ethics. The value and interpretation of the released text messages are also central to the legal debate. While the defense argues that they demonstrate a history of consensual engagement in violent sexual acts, potentially undermining Jane Doe's claims of non-consent, The prosecution will likely argue that past consent does not negate the possibility of assault. Padilla astutely pointed out that establishing a pattern of voluntary submission to certain acts does not automatically imply consent to all acts, especially those involving force and coercion. The jury will ultimately need to weigh the historical context of the relationship against the specific allegations of assault and rape, settlement attempts, and the specter of defamation. Adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama, it was revealed that Shannon Sharpe's team apparently made a significant financial offer to Jane Doe in an attempt to settle the case before it was publicly filed. Reports indicated an initial figure of tens of millions of dollars, later clarified by Sharpe's representative as at least $10 million. The fact that a substantial settlement offer was made raises questions about Sharpe's confidence in his defense and his desire to avoid the potentially damaging public scrutiny of a trial. However, as Padilla noted, settlement offers, while common in legal disputes, can often be misconstrued by the public as an admission of guilt, regardless of the actual motivations behind the offer.
And Sharpe replies, "Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter." Now, to be clear, this tape may only be a portion of the entire conversation and audio, but this appears to be a portion nonetheless.
In a case with such high stakes and damaging allegations, the perception of guilt associated with a large settlement could be as detrimental to Sharpe's reputation as a legal defeat. The possibility of a countersuit for defamation was also discussed. While litigation privilege generally shields parties from defamation claims arising from statements made during legal proceedings, Padilla acknowledged that individuals still have the right to sue. However, the success of such a countersuit would be contingent on demonstrating that Jane Doe's allegations were demonstrably false and made with malicious intent, a high legal bar to clear. Given the public nature of the accusations and the potential damage to Sharpe's career and reputation, a countersuit, even with the challenges posed by litigation privilege, remains a possibility. The unfolding drama, a case far from conclusion. The legal battle between Shannon Sharpe and Jane Doe is clearly far from over. The release of text messages and audio recordings has only intensified the public interest and added layers of complexity to the narrative. The case presents a stark clash of narratives, with Sharpe's team portraying a consensual, albeit unconventional, relationship, and Jane Doe's team alleging a pattern of abuse culminating in violent sexual assault. The ultimate resolution of this case will likely hinge on the interpretation of the evidence presented, including the text messages, the audio recording, and any other corroborating information that may emerge. The jury, if the case proceeds to trial, will face the daunting task of sifting through conflicting accounts and determining the truth. In the meantime, the court of public opinion will continue to weigh in, potentially impacting Sharpe's career and reputation, regardless of the legal outcome. As Mauricio Padilla aptly concluded, once such damaging allegations and evidence are made public, repairing the reputational damage, even with a legal victory, can be an arduous and expensive undertaking. As seen in other high-profile cases, the saga of Shannon Sharpe and Jane Doe serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of such accusations and the intricate interplay between the legal system and public perception.